Let's talk some toys in here.
Hey, what's up everyone today? It's the Man-Child. Alright, so today for review, I'm going to take a look at the new Masters of the Universe times ThunderCats He-Man figure. So this is the new He-Man figure as part of Wave 2 with the ThunderCats crossover collaboration. And I gotta say, it's pretty interesting. It's a really cool looking take on He-Man from what I can see. I do like the face sculpt, the hair, right? And look at the armor. It gets like the center lion, the Eternity Tower, the center lion tower with the big face for the main chest armor. That's really cool. Shield that I guess also very similar to the lion tower with the colors and the big fangs. Get some big fur shoulder pads as part of the armor now. The newer style body, the loin, the longer 2000X style loincloth as I call them. And a new power sword with the Eye of Thundera, the crossed over Thundercats power sword. And then here's a quick look at the art on the back of the packaging so we can see the new He-Man fighting Mumra, right, the new power sword in hand, shield, see some wastelands in the background, or what they call them, Third Eternia. And then there's a closer look at the face sculpt party art. And dropping down to the very bottom, here's a quick image of the battle helmet that you can put on his He-Man, so he does come with a helmet. And these are all three figures that's included with this wave or series 2 of the newer ThunderCats figures. Okay, before we look at this new He-Man all his accessories, he comes with a new comic. This is the same comic that Tigra come with, so I showed this in my Tigra review. If you've seen it, just be patient. It's called the Power Sword of the Omen. So that's basically the merger of two swords, right? And that's what they're calling it. I'm going to bring this up close. Once again, you can pause and read it, look over everything. All the images. There's the new He-Man, holding Tigra. Next page. Now you can see over here with Scalar has the regular, the power sword itself. I'm just going to merge them like here, and the next page kind of shows how they, the two swords merged and become that new power sword. Tiger with his ball whip grabs it out of Scalar's hand. Where Lino's getting ready to fight him. So yeah, there's the power sword. There's the Sword of Omens, and then they look like they just merge, I guess. Right? Whew, and he turns into the new power sword. Doesn't really explain much, beside that. What I could see. That's it. Okay, here's a quick look around. New He-Man, all his accessories out of package. Taking a closer look at this new head sculpt for He-Man. Again, I really like it. Fits. Seems to work with this ThunderCats crossover. It has a serious tone with the cheekbones. It's the overall sculpt, the way the hair is, but yet very cartoon-like. Right? I like the job they did with the eyes, very wide. As far as the painting, or could be decals in there. Looks really good. I like that. It looks very alert. Eyebrows are painted well. Pretty cool looking hair. Right? Different as far as the sculpt. See a little piece on the top, the way it goes around the ear. How far it comes down to the shoulders. Look from the back. He has a little tie back on with the hair, the main part of the hair with like some bands. Should have been brown or something. Just pull apart a cast yellow. But they did do that. Here's a look from the other side. And even a piece of that hair that's tied, it's like kind of blowing in a breeze on the right-hand side. All right? And so as far as articulation with this head, or the hair anyway, you can look all the way to the left. You can look to the right. You can go down, and as far as you can go back, it is hindered because of the hair. But the hair is, it's very rubbery. You can see that. Not only that, it's... Okay, I see how they have it plugged and glued. At least this, I don't know if it's one whole piece. Yeah, it looks like one whole piece around the head. How about this side? Looks like it wants to pull right off. Yeah, so it's pretty much the overall design of it. But again, pretty interesting as far as the head sculpt and hair. I like it for what they did with this He-Man. Alright, so dropping down to the main body and the chest armor. So it already popped apart. That's what I don't like with these plugs. Like if you disturb them, because I was messing around with it, they pop easy. There it goes. It goes back on. So anyway, that's the back, and I'll remove it later. Alright, back to the center of the chest armor. And that's awesome. Look at that. It's the center lion tower face, right, from Eternia. Really cool. The fangs, the eyes, the overall that metallic blue tone they went with. And even he has the two yellow, the eyes are painted yellow. And he also has a pupil on this side. But look at the one, the pupil on this side. Mine's, it's all splattered and ruined. I don't know if these little stencils in there, but you got to be careful with that. So it's a QC issue on my figure. Wow. I guess I have to call it battle damage for now unless I get another one. But I really like that pattern. That one's like stands out, bothers me. Anyway, so they did, paint the eyes, put little stencils in them, which is pretty cool. So my QC issue. Moving back up to the shoulder, so now he has like these big furry shoulder armor pads on both the left and right side. That's pegged and glued to the armor. Okay, so I don't mind it. I like them. I think they're cool. But if you want to remove them, yeah, you're going to rip them or rip the armor, or you're going to have a peg sticking there. I wish it could have just popped off somehow or clipped on underneath. It would have been better if you didn't want to use these and just use the armor itself. But, yep, that's how they were on. You can see on the side, too. So, and dropping down, of course, you can spin at the waist and then come apart at the waist. All right, like so. Push that down like that, that belt. Come back together. All right. And then he has a newer style body. You can see in the arms and legs that these ThunderCat crossover figures have. And a lot of these parts are going to be used on a new 2000X line. Now, I think what's interesting with this He-Man, speaking of 2000X, something between the arms, the body, and the legs, and the smaller head reminds me of an Origins He-Man, which obviously is, version of the 2000X figures, right? They just had the thin muscular legs, the thin but yet muscular torso, and the long arms, and again, small heads. And that's what they're going for with this He-Man. So I think I like it. I like these parts they're going to use for that 2000X series, and that's what this He-Man's doing. Point it out, but look how long the arms are, at least the forearms. So speaking of the arms, right, moving up to the right arm, here's a better look at the aesthetics without the pad, pulling up the shoulder pad. As far as the articulation with these arms and these flexible for shoulder pads, you can go all the way up, down, forward, back. This side has a bicep band, I guess you call it, a strap that goes around. All right, that can come down or off, or you can push it up more. I'll take it off a little while. So you get one of those, but there's not one on the other side. You got two of these He-Man, you can get two of them, or this can go on the other side. And as far as the elbow, you can spin, but now this joint is stuck on mine, so I don't want to break that. I'm going to have to heat it up. So mine does not bend at the elbow on the side. Got to be very careful. And then he has these newer style He-Man the gauntlets that are, really flexible plastic. They can spin and come off. He has a weapon gripping hand on the right side, obviously, and this can spin, and the hinge joint goes up and down. You can even see how it's postured to hold the power sword. So that's pretty cool instead of in and out. I think that's a better choice for that. Moving over to the left arm, everything's the same, but let's test it out. So we can go up, down, forward, all the way back. Spin at the elbow. Now the elbow on this side can bend no problem. All right, it bends all the way into the center of the body, the face. And again, look how long the forearm is. It goes all the way across the other side of the body. Right? Or when you bend them, how far it goes down to the knee, the longer arms. And then pretty much on that side, look from the back once again. And, all right, so where are we at here? Dropping back down to the waist. We know he spins, comes apart at the waist. Now, here's a look at the newer style belt that this He-Man comes with the longer fur loincloth on the front and the back. And I'm assuming these are going to be the belts and loincloths used for the 2000X figures. Now, it's a little different from what the ThunderCats were originally getting, starting with Lino. In this case, there's Tigra. Right? Now, you can see it has a longer style loincloth, but the belt is different. Right, I mean, aside the color, yeah, white and gold, but it's a different design. Where this is more Motu-like. Right, and this is what the main ThunderCats are going with, and even the back, the little round jewel pieces, they're all gold though, go all the way around, or rivets, or I guess whatever they are. So you can see that. All right, very flexible. Get the arms out of the way, and then as far as the legs, so moving down to the legs, you can just see the overall aesthetics and design of them. As far as the articulation, go all the way out with a split. And then these legs can come off, by the way, if you're not familiar. Right, for customs, you can see how they pop right out like that. All right, put that back on like so. And so he can, let's see, kick forward, go back, bend at the knee, spin at the knee. And then he has the newer style boot that these ThunderCats are coming with. Again, Tigra come with something very similar. So the Lino. You can see the fur. Now, Tigra had a foot that was sticking out to where this He-Man has a full boot. You can spin at the boot, and you can remove it if you want to. And as far as the articulation with the foot, you go up, down, and rock and spin all around. So it's really good joints as far as foot. Moving over to the right leg, we'll kick forward, go back, bend at the knee, spin at the knee. And now he also gets another, like a thigh band this time. Big leather, very similar to this bicep one, right? That can come off just there. If you had two of them, you could put two or put it on the other side. He does get that. And then moving down, same type of boot. You spin at the boot, can remove off the leg if you wanted to. And with the foot, the articulations are all the same. Go up, down, and rock side to side. So everything looks good with the articulations. Figure side, this arm that I'll have to heat up. So moving back up to the armor, let's remove it off the body. I'll flip it back around. We already know how it pops off. Very easy. Like so. Okay, so we have to remove the head on this figure. Let's pop the head off. There we go. Let's look at the ball peg. And then the armor is going to pop right over the front like so. All right, now we got to break them in half like that. And the arm will come off. And we'll also remove the loincloth as well. And then put the figure back together. And then here's a little closer look at the armor parts removed off the body. So here's our cross strap, Eternia lion head face armor. Right? Again, you can see the eyes and when it's damaged on that side. Here's a better look at those fur pieces on the shoulders. You know, the flexibility are and they're glued. Here's a look at the back, and we know how it goes together. And a little sword holder. Here's that, 2000X style belt loincloth. They're removed, right? And I also removed the bands that just slid off the leg and the arm. Obviously, this one's for the leg and the arm. Pretty flexible. They came right down. And then I also removed the gauntlets by removing the hands. Very rubbery and soft. And then here's a look at both hands. I removed off the body off camera to save time. Just regular Origin style pegs. You can see the hinge joints and the style of the hands. And then, of course, there's a quick look at this He-Man with all the armor pieces and gauntlets removed off the body. That's pretty much what you get as far as the body aesthetics. Let's take a better look at the torso, right? The legs, front and back, the overall arms, the lengths of those. Here's a look from the back if you're not familiar. Back of the legs, back of the arms. So yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be the 2000X style body for 2000X He-Man, as already mentioned. Now, real quick, I'm going to jump back and forth here with some comparisons. But here's Mattel's Origin style 2000X He-Man. At least one of them. They did a couple different variants. This was from the Mattel Creations 4-pack, so the colors are a little bit different. But I just kind of wanted to show you overall look at the, what the style is with that older body and with this one. Now, I can't remove, so this had the gauntlets are all part of the arms. All right, he has his own, we could put these boots on. I like these boots. I think they work. Can't really do much with the belt and loincloth because it's all part of the waist. Unless you break the waist apart, you could do that and put it on this one. The skin tones, now this figure's a little darker. But obviously we can remove the armor and the heads. So real quick, I'm going to jump around here. I want to take the head off this figure and put the 2000X head off this one. All right, they're off there. There we go. And let's see how it looks on this body. Even though all right, skin tones aren't terrible. But that's what it would look like if we got a 2000X He-Man that used this head on this body. I'm assuming, well, actually the He-Man looks totally, it's a lot different for what they're going to use for these figures from what I've seen. All right, but a quick look at that for a little custom while we're playing around. And then the other thing I want to do is I'm going to put the gauntlets back on. We'll use this loincloth and this armor on this body with that head, and we'll see what that looks like. All right, and here's a quick look at that setup. So I just pretty much took this body and obviously made a 2000X inspired He-Man off the 2000X bigger parts I have from the Origins, as I showed. So we have the armor on, this newer style belt loincloth. I just left the boots on because they look close, something like they're wearing a 2000X. You can always put these ones on. They're actually smaller and shorter, and we've seen these 1,000 times. And the newer He-Man will have something different from that line. Here's a look from the back. Right, we have the head. I put the gauntlets on, the gold instead of silver because I can't take these off. And I put the that power sword in hand. So it looks pretty cool, reminiscent of what that 2000X vintage figure looked like with the smaller aesthetics and that type of head. And then if you wanted to with this, I guess you could break the waist in half. And let me try this, the lower half of this, like combine them. Now that could work too if you like those He-Man aesthetics, that type of legs with the boots on, that belt, the shorts. Yeah, the skin tone's actually matte. Well, no, it's a little lighter. Again, they made 3 different variants with this He-Man. It's a darker tone one. But you get the gist of what you can do. Parts and, I don't know, something different with this body and that setup. Okay, moving forward, taking a look at He-Man's weapons and accessories. So here's a quick look at that new blade shield. Get the 2 big claws. You can see how it snaps on the arm where you can grab it with one of his hands. Pretty cool. Again, it looks like a piece that could be part of that Eternian Tower. The lion head, his blades are big fangs. So you get that. And then he comes with a alternative cross armor. It's pretty much just the cartoon He-Man cross armor, for what I can see. Same one. Colors are very close. So if you want to arm him with that, or equip him with that, you can. We'll put that on a little while as a sword holder. Then here's a look at that new helmet that we'll put on soon. Again, put another interesting looking piece with the big spikes, the fangs. Again, it's like the top piece of the Eternian Lion Tower head, I'm guessing. And then here's a look at that new style sword, the Power Sword of Omens. That's a cool looking sword. I like that. So you got a combination of, yeah, the main Power Sword and the Sword of Omens. See, on one side you have the ThunderCat logo, the eye open, and then here's the closed eye on the other side. So you do get that. Again, really cool looking sword, and it's a very rigid plastic. It's not gummy or too rubbery, and mine's very straight out of package, because I notice a lot of accessories that come with some of these figures are like, the way they have them in there are bent, warped. It's driving me nuts, but no, this sword wasn't like that, so I'm really happy about that. So, once again, take another look at He-Man with his armor pieces put back on. Let's arm him up with the weapons and accessories. First thing is I want to put this Eternia Lion helmet, I'm going to call it, on his head. So it just sits over the hair. Basically, it's sculpted particularly for this hair. From what I can see, kind of snaps on like so. It's another finicky piece. It reminds me of like Tigra's Predator mask, I called it. Something like that. You know, like you fill around with it. Alright, so it's going to sit like that, I think. I don't know if I can go down anymore. And that's about it. So it would look like that over the face. Maybe you can adjust it. See, it wants to fall off. Yeah, these are accessories I'm not kind of mixed with. Alright, there you go. That's better. So I had it wrong. So for the most part, that's what it looks like. It seems to be holding okay. If it falls off or it's loose on the figure, if anything, you can put some putty underneath it. I might do that just to be safe. But there's a look at the yeah, helmeted mask, that, or the lion head, I'm going to call it, on his head. Now the other point with this helmet piece, I'm going to remove it off the head. I'm going to bring the 2000X He-Man head, right? Just to show you, this is, again, particularly designed for this head sculpt or hair. So it's not going to fit on this head whatsoever. 2000, you know, the Origins 2000X. And even the vintage He-Man head. That also won't, it will not go on that head if you wanted to use this for a custom part. So I just want to show that. Okay, and then with the helmet back on this He-Man head, I'm going to put the Power Sword in the right hand because it has the hinge joint that goes up and down. So these hands are really stiff. Just going to show it real quick, see how it fits. There we go. All right, get the sword in that hand like so. And then let's put the shield in the other hand. And again, it just, this type, you'll just push it onto the, you know, lock this in the main part of that hand and clip this onto the back of the forearm. Or you can put it on the right hand, but it makes sense in the left hand. And there's a quick look at that setup. So we have our He-Man all armed up, right, with the new Power Sword, obviously in the right hand, shield in the left. Of course, that helmet on. That's a really cool looking He-Man, I gotta say. The more I mess around with him, I really like him as part of his ThunderCats series. Look at the front and the back. See, this armor now, another complaint is this keeps popping. I mentioned that before. When you remove these, I noticed, like the cartoon armor is the same way. Sometimes I use a little screwdriver. I mean, this is sharp. You should, like, use wood or something. And you'll see there's a little piece down here. You got to, like, pry this in to lock it. See, there you go. Now the armor's locked. If you don't do that, it will pop a lot. But I just want to point that out. At least how I do it. Be very careful. And then while we're talking about the back of the armor, I'm going to take the sword out of the hand. And it can hold, you know, going back and hold it like so. And for a little fun, I want to show this He-Man on the original Origins Battle Cat. If you want to use him with that cat, even though in this collaboration with the ThunderCats, Battle Cat is now Battle Cat Man, so maybe he didn't turn into that. So there's a quick look at that setup with He-Man on this cat. You want to use him for that once again. And you noticed that, so I'll get him off this. I also raised the Power Sword in hand with the articulation, that hinge joint. Check that out. So that looks really cool as far as raising the sword and looking up with this. Oh, okay, sorry, he popped off the ball peg. But that's as far as he can bring the sword and look with his head up at the sword, even though it's already transformed. He's not going to say I have the power. Once again, jumping ahead with some comparisons and mixing and matching the parts. So here's a quick comparison between 3 different He-Man figures that we have in this Origins collection. Just to give you an idea of the overall look, size, aesthetics. I mean, from what we can see with the armor pieces on. So, of course, we have our regular Origins He-Man with the vintage Spire head, right? Here's our new ThunderCats collaborated He-Man, and then of course the cartoon He-Man. Let's quick look at all those together. Again, turn them to the sides, kind of what to expect as far as the height, the muscle aesthetics. Right? They have 3 different bodies, arms, legs. They're all different. I reviewed all these figures. Quick, what to expect. Quick look at that together. Those together. So the next thing I want to do is a couple other He-Man head change-outs with this new He-Man body, as is with the armor on, sword in hand, shield, whatnot. And of course, here's a look at that 2000X He-Man head with that setup. We know that the helmet doesn't fit, but if you didn't like this head, you like this body, you want to use this head from any one of the 2000X figures. I mean, the skin tone is a little different, but it does work. That's what it looked like. And as far as articulation with its head on the body, right, left, right, go down and back. Next up, with the same setup, here's a look at the cartoon head on this body. All right, so if you like that cartoon head, that's what it looked like. Yeah, skin tones match, works well. You can make it work. As far as articulation, left, right, go down and back, and it's actually interesting. Okay, I had to push the head down more, how it's sat on a ball peg. And just like all the other heads, let me see this. Yeah, this helmet will not fit. I don't know if I force it. You kind of can, but once, see if you stretch it out, it actually does work on that head, but as soon as you let it go, it'll just pop right off because it's spongy, just very rubbery. And then lastly, with the same setup, of course, I threw the vintage-inspired Origins He-Man head on this body with the armor on as is. Quick look at that setup. Yeah, it's always a favorite head. There's quite a few versions of this out. There's even one with white paint in the eyes, but you notice, see, this one's very loose and sloppy. It could just be this particular head. You can always put some putty in there or something. For the most part, it looks cool on its body. If you like that one. As far as articulation, left, right, go down and back. Okay, then as far as part swapping, the last thing I want to try is putting all these armor pieces on the vintage Origins He-Man body, because many people, or most people, like this body over the newer style bodies, whether it's this new ThunderCats or 2000X body, I'm going to call it, or the cartoon one, from a lot of comments I got. So I did put the hands in, as you can see, and I put the gauntlets over his gauntlets, so they do work. The hands are, the skin tone's a little bit lighter in this. And again, there's so many different He-Mans out. It's just the one I have available right now. My other stuff's off to the side. So that does work. And then if you go back to the legs, I put that 2000X loincloth in and put it together. That's easy. You can switch the boots out. But see, I stopped. And the reason is this armor does not fit this body, this buck. You could put this over. You could stretch it. I mean, I'm heating this up. I'm stretching it. But the more I'm doing this, it feels like it's going to rip. Or I'm going to just damage the armor. Or if I go to put it back on this body, it's going to be too loose. So it might be possible. But look how hard I'm trying to pull that down to lock this. And it's not working without a lot of heat or something. I just don't want to damage it. So yeah, I just want to point that out. You're going to try to use this body or the upper buck, especially for this main armor. It is not going to work. So I'm not even going to go any further. And then, of course, I gave you the cartoon armor, which I'll put on the other He-Man soon. Now, this should work because it's I think it's just the regular cartoon style armor. I could be wrong. How about that? Oh, wow, look at that. No, it doesn't even work either. And I know I'm pretty sure the cartoon He-Man armor does work on this body. This is a little different, I think. It's close. You can stretch it out, make it work. You want to pull it over, but I'm not going to damage it. So I just want to point that out as far as this He-Man buck. If you're trying to customize it, especially with this armor, because this is really cool and unique with the fur pieces. And yeah, it doesn't work on his body. All right, and then for the second time, jumping back over to our ThunderCats-inspired He-Man, all done back up, but yet broken apart. I just want to put this cartoon-inspired He-Man on the body. So if people aren't familiar, there is a right and wrong way to do it. Right, this is the right way, where this piece is sticking up. You can put it the other way too, it would work, but I want to do it like this. And we're just going to wrap it back around, like so. All right, you're going to pull this sword piece, the sword holder down. It should look like this to where this is on the lower part, not the other way around, which it will work, but it kind of looks weird. And let's see how this locks on the body, because we know it didn't work on the vintage one. And then there's a look at that setup. So if you want to use this cartoon-inspired armor on the overall setup with He-Man, with the helmet on, shield, the sword, that's what it would look like. Make it, bring it back to his roots a little bit, so I get a lot of changes with the head. I like this armor a lot better. And this is what it looked like with the sword in the back, or how it would hold it. And then, for a couple other size comparisons, I just want to bring in the Skelera against our new He-Man. For, height, scale, and size. Just a quick look at those two together. Just get an idea. Look like this new He-Man, and that large Mummer Skeletor, or at least he's set up like Skeletor. And then lastly, here's a quick look at our new He-Man against Lino and Battle Cat Man as far as size and scale. This is what they all look like together. Alright, that about does it. That's my review on the new Masters of the Universe times ThunderCats He-Man figure. I think for a He-Man added to this ThunderCats collaboration, a crossover, a version of He-Man, came out pretty cool. I like him. I do like that head sculpt and the hair. Kind of reminds me of like a cartoon version of like King Grayskull or something a little bit, the more I look at it. So I think it's a neat design. The helmet's really cool, you know, just the overall fangs, the design of it. And the more as you mess around with it, it does fit on the head really well. At first I had problems with it. It's just something I was doing, but it fits there. It's not falling off. It would have been cool if you can use it on the other He-Man heads, like I showed. You didn't like this head and put the other ones on this body for customs or just on another He-Man body, but it's not going to work for the most part. I mean, without putty or something like that. It's got to say this Eternian Lion Tower cross armor, I'm going to call it, is my favorite piece. I mean, that is such a cool looking armor. Yeah, the fangs, the overall colors, the eyes. But it's a shame that, yeah, my eye, I have a QC issue here in this eye, so I don't know if it's like got wet or it came like that in package or I did that when I took it out. I don't know, but it should look like that. Kind of drives me nuts. So you got to be careful of that stenciling in there, paint, how easy it can blur, I guess. I like the fur pieces, shoulder pieces, but you can't remove them if you didn't want to use them. You just want to use this armor because they're like plugged and glued in. You should have made them where they could have snapped on. If you didn't want to use them, you didn't have to. But they're fine for what I'm doing. I don't mind them. Got a little place for a sword holder in the back. Got these little straps on, which are cool. Neat if they had one on, you know, one for each side. I gotta say too, the sword is really cool. I like that design. The Sword of Omens crossed with the Power Sword. That's neat. The shield's awesome. I like that as well with the points and just the overall looking colors. We got this newer 2000X inspired loincloth and belt, I'm going to call it, that can be used on this figure or your other He-Man figures. You want to use it now because it comes off easy. The new boots. And then, of course, you get this Filmation inspired arm, I'm going to call it, just for this body. And again, it's interesting that it doesn't work on the regular Origins bodies, and neither does this armor. That's my other complaint. They should have made this bigger. Somehow it would have been neat if it was adjustable. So if you want to use this as a custom on the vintage figures, the regular Origins like I showed, you can. And for the most part, it doesn't work unless you already heat and stretch it, and maybe you can customize it. It might fit. I don't want to do that with this figure, but yeah, it was didn't really work well. This is specifically designed for this body, you know. And so was this armor. But you know, aside that, it's cool. It's a cool design. The armor, the sword, the parts, the head that they put together for this He-Man as part of this ThunderCats series. I like him a lot. So as always, I appreciate everybody watching. Until next time, take care.